It was a warm evening when I first sensed a change in how my stepson looked at me. His gaze held a mix of curiosity and something deeper. Initially, I dismissed it as just a passing look, but over time, the atmosphere between us began to shift. Our relationship had always been polite and typical, yet there was an underlying tension that neither of us could ignore any longer. My stepson was a striking young man, self-assured and vibrant. He frequently invited friends over, and among them was a girl who immediately drew my eye. She was beautiful, with a radiant smile and an easy charm that naturally made her the focal point of any gathering. It was hard not to notice the closeness between her and my stepson. They exchanged quiet words, subtle glances, and their connection was evident. Observing them together stirred emotions within me that I hadn't experienced in a long time. One evening, my stepson invited his girlfriend over for dinner. There was a palpable tension, as if something significant was on the verge of unfolding, though I couldn't quite identify what it might be. As we gathered around the table, the conversation flowed lightly, full of laughter and shared anecdotes. Yet, occasionally, I'd notice the girl's eyes on me, and there was an unspoken message in her look that quickened my pulse as though she held a secret I was yet to discover. Later that night, after the meal, my stepson proposed that we all unwind in the living room with some wine. The ambiance was warm and inviting, dimmed lights and gentle music filling the space. We sat closely together, and I could feel the warmth of their presence beside me. The gentle touch of his hand brushing my leg, her foot pressing against mine beneath the table, sent my mind spinning with endless possibilities. The atmosphere was dense with unspoken longing. As the evening advanced and more wine was poured, our conversation shifted to a more personal level. We discussed love, relationships, and boundaries, and with each moment, the distinction between what was right and wrong seemed to fade. My stepson's girlfriend moved closer, her gaze fixed on mine as she spoke, her tone deep and alluring. She said something that caught me off guard, her words lingering in the air like a challenge, tempting me to step over the line. "I find it thrilling to try out new experiences, don't you?" she murmured, her hand lightly resting on my arm. I felt my heart thudding in my chest, my pulse racing as her words settled in. My stepson, seated next to me, appeared completely unfazed by the conversation. In fact, he seemed to welcome it, his grin widening as he observed the interaction unfolding between us. There was an unspoken agreement among the three of us, a mutual recognition that we were on the verge of stepping into unknown territory. Before I could respond, my stepson leaned closer, his voice barely a whisper. As he spoke, he mentioned that she was willing to explore new experiences, his hand now resting gently on my knee. "I think it might be enjoyable for all of us," he added, his words sending a surge of excitement through me, triggering unexpected physical reactions. There was an undeniable thrill in the riskiness of the situation, the forbidden aspect of what was being proposed. A part of me felt the urge to withdraw, to put an end to this before it advanced any further. Yet, another part of me, the part that had been yearning for something different, was eager to plunge fully into whatever unfolded next. His girlfriend looked at me, her lips forming a suggestive smile. "What do you think?" she inquired, her voice filled with eager anticipation. "Are you ready for this?" I paused briefly, then nodded, my body revealing any lingering uncertainties my mind held. There was no retreating now. The following moments felt surreal, each action intentional, every touch sparking waves of pleasure throughout my body. My stepson and his girlfriend moved in perfect sync, their hands wandering, their lips playfully tempting, as they led me into a realm of desire I had only imagined. It seemed like they instinctively understood exactly what I craved. As if they had orchestrated this moment from the beginning, waiting for the ideal chance to welcome me into their intimate world, the night became a whirlwind of passion and bliss. The three of us moved in perfect harmony, our bodies intertwined as we explored each other's limits and desires. Each touch, kiss, and whispered word of encouragement only amplified the intensity, driving us deeper into a pleasure I had never experienced. I had never felt so alive or desired as I did in those moments. Afterward, as we lay together, our bodies still tingling from what had transpired, I couldn't help but grin. My stepson gazed at me with a blend of satisfaction and affection, his girlfriend nestled between us, her fingers drawing lazy patterns on my skin. "I told you it would be fun," he said with a wink. And it was more than fun, it was a night that changed everything. The relationship among the three of us had transformed, and although a part of me recognized that this needed to be managed delicately moving forward, I couldn't ignore the excitement it brought. There was a newfound closeness between us, a connection that surpassed the usual stepmother-stepson dynamic, and it thrilled me in unexpected ways. In the days that followed, the energy between us stayed intense. Whenever his girlfriend visited, there was an unspoken agreement that we were all in this together now, that what had begun that night would persist in whatever form we desired. The boundaries had been broken, and we were free to explore each other in ways that were both thrilling and forbidden. I found myself eagerly awaiting their visits, the anticipation growing with each passing day. When they arrived, the looks we exchanged and the subtle touches all hinted at what was to come. The excitement of being part of something so secret and intimate was intoxicating, and I couldn't get enough of it. As time passed, our meetings became more frequent, each one more intense than the previous. We tried new things, pushing each other's boundaries in ways that were both thrilling and satisfying. There was a trust among the three of us, a feeling that we were in this together, exploring unknown territory without judgment or shame. It was a freedom I didn't realize I needed. What began as a single night of passion had evolved into something much more significant. It was no longer just about the physical connection, it was about the emotional bond we had created. I felt closer to my stepson and his girlfriend than I had ever felt to anyone before, and that connection only grew stronger with each encounter. Naturally, we kept our secret well guarded, fully aware of the repercussions if anyone discovered it. This secrecy only heightened the excitement, knowing that what we were doing was exclusively ours. It was a delicate balance, but one we were all eager to maintain for the pleasure and closeness it provided. Reflecting on it, I never could have predicted this outcome, but after crossing that line, there was no turning back, nor did I want to. As the months passed, our bond only strengthened. The secret life we led became second nature, and I started to embrace the unique dynamic we had formed. It wasn't just about the physical aspect anymore, though that remained significant. It was the emotional connection that had flourished among us. We began spending more time together, not just for our intimate moments, but in everyday life as well. The casual dinners we shared felt like more than just family gatherings. Our moments together were filled with lingering touches, knowing looks, and private jokes that only we understood. We had crafted a world just for us, where I found both comfort and excitement. Naturally, there were times of doubt. I occasionally questioned how long our arrangement could last, and if we could keep this passionate relationship hidden from everyone else. But whenever those uncertainties surfaced, I reminded myself that what we had was genuine, and the feelings we shared were not temporary. We had built something strong and meaningful. One day, my stepson surprised me with an unexpected confession. We were sitting quietly one afternoon when he turned to me with a serious look. "You know, this might not be traditional," he said in a thoughtful tone, "but what we have here is more real than anything I've ever experienced." His words resonated with me. I had often wondered about the nature of our relationship, questioning if it was just a phase or something we pursued for the thrill. But hearing him express that, I realized that we were all committed to this for the long term. It wasn't merely a hidden affair, it had become a fundamental part of our identities. His girlfriend, too, had grown closer to me in ways I hadn't foreseen. It had evolved beyond just physical attraction. We engaged in deep conversations, sharing our aspirations, dreams, and fears. She became a confidant, someone I trusted fully, and that connection made our intimate moments even more meaningful. As our relationship progressed, I found myself becoming more open than ever before. I began to shed my past reservations and embraced the life we had built together. The love I felt for them was undeniable, and the trust we established made me feel more secure than ever. Yet there were still obstacles. We had to ensure no one discovered our secret, as the world wouldn't understand. And I knew that if people learned the truth, it could destroy everything we had built. So we maintained a casual appearance in public, projecting the image of an ordinary family life. It wasn't always simple, especially when the tension between us became noticeable in social settings, but we managed. In private, however, we were free to love, free to explore, free to be ourselves. Every embrace, every kiss, every shared moment felt like a triumph over society's constraints. We had carved out our own little haven, and as long as we were together, nothing else mattered. One evening, as we lay intertwined in bed, my stepson murmured words that lingered in my mind long after he spoke them. "I never thought this would happen, but I'm so grateful it did. I don't want this to ever end." His girlfriend shared the same feelings, and in that instant, I realized we all felt the same. None of us wanted this to end. We had discovered something rare, something beautiful, and we were determined not to let it slip away. The fear of being found out was always present, lurking at the back of my thoughts, but it wasn't enough to make me walk away. I was too invested, too in love with both of them to consider leaving. We had found a balance that suited us, a dynamic that, while unconventional, was perfect for us. As the months turned into years, our relationship grew and adapted, We learned how to handle the complexities of our situation, how to keep our secret while still leading fulfilling lives. It wasn't always smooth, but it was worth every effort. Each challenge we encountered only brought us closer and made us stronger. Looking back, I never imagined my life would take such an unforeseen direction. What began as a hidden romance had developed into something deeper, something more meaningful than I had ever thought possible. We had beaten the odds and created a life that was entirely ours, and I couldn't be happier. Our love story wasn't conventional, but it was genuine, and in the end, that was all that mattered. If you enjoyed this gripping story and want to hear more, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel for more exciting content.